Hello, I'm Tim Peacock and I'm a writer and music journalist with 35 years experience in the business. I'm the author of a book called The Rhythm and the Tide about the early days of legendary Liverpool cult band The Lars and the wider Merseyside music scene, which I co-wrote with the band's founding member Mike Badger. I've also written for magazines ranging from Sounds to Record Collector and for online publications such as Universal Music's You Discover Music and Warner Music UK's Dig website. In addition, I'm the general editor of a popular music reviewing site, whisperingandhollering.com. That's been a going concern for 25 years and has an archive featuring literally thousands of reviews. All of that means I'm always keen to hear the best in new music, but like most serious music fans, I'm a collector and a dedicated crate digger who loves to rediscover lesser-known albums which, for any number of reasons, flew below the radar at the time of their release. Bearing that in mind, I've long since wanted to start a podcast like this, something that's dedicated to revisiting and reappraising lesser-known records of all genres from the past 60 years. So join me, Tim Peacock, and let's take a trip under the radar and give some love to some vastly underrated records that still sound great today. In the first episode of our new Under the Radar podcast, we're going to take you back to the late 1960s and a pivotal record from a band who were on the cusp of inventing a whole new genre, British folk rock. The record in question is called What We Did on Our Holidays, and it was recorded by a band called Fairport Convention, who these days are widely accepted as a national treasure in England. However, when they first formed, they were just one of the many young idealistic groups who came together during 1967's Summer of Love. The band took its name from a house named Fairport in London's Muswell Hill, where they originally rehearsed in a large building also housing rhythm guitarist Simon Nichol's father's medical practice. Aside from Nicol, their initial lineup also included vocalist Judy Dibble, bassist Ashley Hutchings, prodigiously gifted lead guitarist Richard Thompson and drummer Martin Lamble, the latter replacing original drummer Sean Frater after just one gig behind the kit. Through their American-born manager and producer Joe Boyd, Fairport Convention signed a deal with Polydor Records and recruited a second vocalist, Ian Matthews, who would later enjoy success with the pioneering roots rock outfit Matthews Southern Comfort. This lineup recorded the band's self-titled debut album released in June 1968. It wasn't a bad first effort either. Even at this early stage, the Fairports were closer in spirit to the American West Coast sound of Jefferson Airplane, and some of their early self-penned songs sounded a little naive when stacked up against their covers of songs such as Joni Mitchell's Chelsea Morning and Emmett Rhodes' Time Will Show the Wiser. Fairport Convention followed their self-titled debut with What We Did on Our Holidays, released either late in 1968 or in January 1969, depending on which resource you believe. What we can be certain of, though, is that it was the first of the three remarkable albums they would record in a head-spinning 12-month period that would effectively secure their future legend. The two albums that came in its wake, Unhalf Bricking and Liege Leif, are incredible platters in their own right. However, while I'm certainly not here to question their importance as visionary folk rock records, I also feel that What We Did on Our Holidays is the equal of them, as it has plenty of brilliance to offer on its own terms. In fact, What We Did on Our Holidays actually stands alone in Fairport Convention's canon, as it's their only album to feature the dual vocal talents of Ian Matthews and Sandy Denny, with the latter replacing Judy Dibble prior to the album's recording. Denny joined the Fairports following a brief stint with the Strawbs, and her presence is strong throughout What We Did on Our Holidays. Indeed, you can hear why publications such as Uncut and Mojo have been moved to cite her as Britain's greatest ever female singer when you hear a truly spectral performance of the traditional Irish air She Moved Through the Fair. Also, while the album still finds the band wearing their early influences on their sleeve, with covers of songs such as Joni Mitchell's Eastern Rain and Bob Dylan's I'll Keep It With Mine, What We Did on Our Holidays represents an important step forward for Fairport Convention, as it shows them developing rapidly as songwriters on their own terms. The album opens with another Sandy Denny showstopper in Fotheringay, the young singer-songwriter's haunting tribute to the doomed Mary Queen of Scots, set in the hours prior to her execution in 1587. Co-written by Ian Matthews and Richard Thompson, the lilting country rock of Buck's song is also mighty fine, while bassist Ashley Hutchings' Mr. Lacey gets by on Chutzpah alone. It's a fun blues rock tribute to Hutchings' then neighbour Bruce Lacey, the inventor and performance artist who is involved with the Goons and also appeared as George Harrison's flute-playing neighbour in the Beatles' second film, Help. Arguably the record's greatest achievement, though, is Richard Thompson's Meet on the Ledge. The guitarist and future solo star's first truly great song, this beautiful, if mournful vignette, is wise beyond the years of a young man, then aged just 19. Often interpreted as a song of loss, its lyric, "Too many friends have tried, were blown off this mountain by the wind," sounded horribly prescient when the Fairport suffered the devastating motorway crash that claimed the lives of Martin Lamble and Thompson's girlfriend, Jeannie Franklin, in May 1969, but it's still affecting to hear it now. Thompson still performs it live, and it's become the song with which Fairport traditionally close their annual Cropredy Festival in Oxfordshire. What We Did on Our Holidays also came housed in an unusual sleeve. With the recording in the can, the band was stumped for a sleeve design until someone remembered the affectionate caricature of the group on stage, drawn in chalk on a blackboard one night by Sandy Denny and Martin Lamble, when Fairport Convention were performing one of their many college gigs, in this case at Essex University in Colchester. In those far-off days, long before the internet and mobile phones, the band had to telephone the college to find out whether the drawing was still in place. When they discovered it was, Joe Boyd dispatched a photographer to capture the image, which became the record's funky, yet highly memorable front cover. Despite its obvious quality, What We Did on Our Holidays failed to trouble the charts on release early in 1969, and it's since been overshadowed by Unhalf Bricking and Liege Leif in critical terms. Yet, while both of those esteemed titles would yield UK top 20 placings and considerable acclaim for Fairport Convention before that year was out, they're still equalled by What We Did on Our Holidays, the sort of wonderfully eclectic and idealistic, genre-straddling record that still entices adventurous listeners of today. So that's all for this episode, but please join us next time when we'll be discussing a post-punk era classic with a cinematic twist.